Welcome to Werezilla's Retrospective. I'm your host, Werezilla. Yeah. There are sequels to Psycho. The fact that there are multiple sequels to Psycho is probably a surprise to a lot of you. Alfred Hitchcock is a prolific filmmaker known for suspense. Psycho contained one of the most shocking twists of all time. Since then, there have been 3 sequels and the up-and-coming Bates Motel show, which, from what I can tell, makes the shot-for-shot remake not seem as much of a waste of time. But here's the real shocker. I actually liked the second movie. Yeah, I think it's more suspenseful. You may now start throwing things at my head. Maybe it's the lack of pop culture mitosis. Maybe the sympathetic portrayal of a damaged man trying to get on with his life despite others trying to bring back old ghosts, which for Norman Bates it's more real than most. But yes, despite the fact that Hitchcock himself was in a grave rather than in the director's chair, Psycho 2 was a good sequel. Now as for Psycho 3, well, we have a whole video to talk about that. Starting, of course, with the film's opening, where we see Maureen, a young nun who's lost her way, and is about to jump off a bell tower, only to accidentally knock another nun off instead.
Wasn't your own sin great enough? You'll burn in hell for this, you'll burn in hell!
Yes, the portrayal of Christianity in the media, so unforgiving. That was clearly an accident. That's the last thing a nun would say in this situation. Still, Maureen is forced to leave and has to become a hitchhiker. We cut to the Bates Motel, where Norman is hard at work stuffing animals, and having a flashback to the end of the last film, where the woman by the name of Mrs. Spool claimed to be his biological mother, who Norman then killed with a shovel, and is now using her corpse as a replacement for Mother's. Yeah, Norman is not the most stable person, is he? After hiring a new person to work for the motel, a drifter by the name of Duke, he goes to the local cafe and gets confronted by a reporter, Tracy, who grills him about information about the past. Yeah, the last time someone did that, it ended up being an evil plot trying to get Norman back into the asylum by driving him insane. And aside from that first part, it worked. Lady, walk away! Maureen checks into the Bates Motel and is still overly depressed for vague reasons. No, seriously, we never find out where this character's clinical depression comes from. Doesn't exactly make for an interesting character now, do we? And Norman ends up flipping out at the sight of her, for reasons that I find a little hard to believe.
I saw her, even the initials on her suitcase. MC, Marion Crane.
Another of your cheap erotic delusions out of your cheap erotic imagination. You killed her. The slut deserved it. But she's dead, and the dead don't come back.
Wait, he thinks she's Marion? Janet Leigh's character from the first film? Maybe it's just me, but Maureen's actress doesn't really look like Janet Leigh to me. Later that night, he tries to kill her while she's in the shower, only to find she's already slit her wrists. Norman's good side takes control and manages to get her to a hospital in time. So he murders one of Duke's lady friends instead in a telephone booth, framed to match the original shower murder scene. Norman's getting sloppy and nobody notices. Well, except that Tracy person who's still snooping about, but she won't become important until much later. Duke holds a party at the hotel, which includes some of the same jerk jocks and brainless cheerleaders you expect to be cannon fodder in most horror films. I thought Psycho was above that. Oh, and as for Maureen, you're not going to believe this. In her delusional state, she mistook Norman's mother outfit for the Virgin Mary, seeing her as some kind of epiphany. The irony is self-explanatory. She and Norman start to get friendly, but Mother is pissed. However, for the first time in his life, Norman resists, refusing to harm Maureen. So he murders one of the women at Duke's party instead. Oh no, I care so much about this random person we know nothing about. Again, I thought Psycho was above this. Oh, and she was on the toilet. Now Norman has something in common with the T-Rex from the first Jurassic Park movie. Duke finds out about Mother and... Oh god, man. I know you're trying to blackmail Norman, but don't imply necrophilia. Ugh. Of course, going to Norman before the police was an incredibly stupid move on Duke's part, since Norman ends up beating him to death with his own guitar, which is made unintentionally funny with Woody Woodpecker playing on the TV in the background.
You made me do this. You're tainted blood in me. Don't laugh at me, Mother. Don't laugh at me.
Tracy finally becomes relevant to the plot by uncovering a lot of info, so I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can. Mrs. Spool was not Norman's biological mother. She was just a crazy person in love with Norman's father, and just assumed Norman was her son. The original Norma was mother all along. Maureen gets to the Bates Motel again, and accidentally falls down the stairs and gets impaled in the back of the head. This is her character's payoff. Norman flips his shit, becoming mother again, and chases Tracy throughout the house when she arrives. She info dumps Norman all the information that I've already said.
Don't let her talk about me like that.
Norman! Please, Norman, please listen to me. Norman, Mrs. Bates, whoever you are, damn it, doesn't it make any difference in that demented brain of yours?
Get her, boy. Get her. Just like the others. Get her. Norman, can't you do anything right? How dare you
Treat your mother in such ways. Norman.
So I don't have the guts, huh?
And so Norman is apprehended by the cops, but declares that at least he is finally free. Good for Norman. Even if that means he's going to spend the rest of his life in a padded cell, at least Mother won't be a problem. Bringing a close to a story and sequel baiting at the same time. What an accomplishment. This movie, how do I put this? Well, Anthony Perkins still does a good job making Norman a tortured character. It's just he's surrounded by so many others that fail to hold interest. It's not even like other movies I reviewed where it featured unlikable characters. Everyone's just boring. Maureen, Tracy, Duke, everyone. It's hard to care about anything else. And that makes it seem, well, like the movie's boring. Nothing really happens for the bulk of it, and maybe it's just my copy, but this film can get really hard to see. What? Oh, right. Sorry, I had a little trouble staying awake while I was watching. Should have expected I'd be a little drowsy during the retrospective. As far as the revelation about Mrs. Spool and Mother are concerned, I fail to see how it mattered, since I'm pretty sure Mother was the same person in his mind, regardless of who was the old body in the room. The film in a nutshell, unnecessary. Well, whatever Hitchcock's or even the original author's intent, I doubt this was part of it. What in the world? Really?
Yeah. Doesn't help that there isn't anyone in the shower. What am I supposed to do with this knife now?
I think I have just the idea. What? What do you think I was going to do with it?